Viewers like you make this program possible. Support your local PBS station.
This is the famous Olympia oyster. You know, they had disappeared from Seattle waters for a great number of years, and they're just coming back. Exquisite little morsels. Go beautifully with Blanc de Blanc champagne. And this champagne was brought to us by Jack Davis of the Schramsberg vineyards in Napa Valley, who's brought us 3 other beautiful bubblies to go with our champagne dinner. Our main course is sweetbreads and mushrooms in a Madeira sauce. And we have a magnificent dessert prepared for us by Brad Ogden of the American restaurant in Kansas City, Missouri. It's just a beautiful creation. And our first course is Dungeness crab, fresh crab from Puget Sound. We were up there the other day fishing for crabs. It was quite an adventure, as you will see.
Okay, let her go.
Bye.
In the cold waters off Dungeness Spit in northern Washington, hearty men like Ken Tibbert fish for Dungeness crab, that tasty crustacean that's gained in popularity, partly because of the declining harvest of Alaskan king crab. Although rock crab and stone crab seem to be plentiful out here, catching the Dungeness is a chancy business. They're fished in cages called pots, which are baited with a fragrant ragout of the stomachs of gooey duck clams and fresh fish parts.
Any crab, I would think.
Theoretically, the crab smells the bait, crawls in the pot, gets trapped, and whammo! Crab for dinner. That's the theory, anyway. So it was with great anticipation we approached the first pot.
Look at all those crabs in there. That's marvelous. And these are too small, I guess.
See, there's a female loaded with eggs. That's
wow.
her.
And you can't take females either.
Females hardly ever get to be legal size anyway.
Yeah.
We pressed on to the next pot.
No. Oh, there's...
Now, we brought up another pot, nothing in it now at all.
Not much?
Crab has got it. That's a rock crab, that red one's in there.
So we don't like them. No.
All righty, we'll try one more.
See what we can find out.
Then to the next.
They look soft, though.
How can you tell just looking?
How white they are.
Oh, I see.
See how soft that is?
And you can't, you can't take those?
You can't take those. They're no good either.
And the next.
Nothing.
I don't even want to look at this one.
Nothing. Not even kind of smells bad, doesn't it?
Phew. At this point, I was ready to settle for fish sticks. Time was running out and my toes were cold. We pulled in another pot and voila!
This is going to be the mother lode.
Mother lode, yeah.
The mother lode.
There we go.
Oh boy, look at all those.
Butter.
Gosh, we really got them this time. Think they're going to be big enough? Oh, you've got to measure it.
No, that's pretty obvious. That was plenty big enough.
That's
He's
big
about
enough.
3/4 of an inch.
Oh boy, and he's not soft.
In all, we got 3 crabs.
let's let her go.
Enough for my recipe. Thank heaven we didn't need more.
That's the whole catch for the day. Out of 6 pots, that's not even a crab to a pot today.
Well,
Usually we get 1 crab.
Well, that'll do good for me, Ken.
Good.
Thanks a lot. I think you'll be surprised at how much meat there is in these 3 Dungeness crabs. They're very perishable, so when you get them, cook them and eat them right away. And I think that them that's going to eat them ought to pick them, because then you're sure that you do a careful job. Now, there's the top part of the crab looking very pretty. Turning it underneath, it's kind of mossy there on the shell. And these legs have a great deal of meat in them, and I'm going to take off the main claw there. You want to twist that off right close to the body. And my object here is to get some of the meat that I can use as a decoration.
And I have my best chance in this big flat joint here, so I'm going to pull off the claw part. And then with a piece of wood of some kind, like a rolling pin, very carefully, not too hard, break the shell, because you don't want to get any shell in the meat, and then just pull that off and take off the shell. And there's your meat, there's your meat. You can just lift it out. And you just continue doing this with all of the legs. Now with a little care, look at all the meat I got out of those 3 crabs. And there's plenty more meat left here in the body of these. That's what's wonderful about these Dungeness crabs. There's a lot of meat in there. And there's the tail. That's how it looks when it's swimming around. Take the tail and pull that off. Now you want to get the shell off. And you just see, it just pulls off like that. And inside is known as the tamale. And you want to spoon that out because that is delicious. It's very much like the lobster tamale. A lot of people throw this away, but it's all edible. And in there, that's the sand or stomach sacks. You don't use that. And now there's still some of this tamale attached onto this chest meat. Scrape that all out. See, there's lots in there, and that's all edible. Now, this needs washing. And I've got also these gills on the side. You take those off because those are not edible. And then wash this. And if you can, break it up in half. Then there's lots of meat in here, and you just have to separate this. And this is really picky work, but I think it's best to do it with your fingers because there's a lot of cartilage. There's the cartilage. You don't want that. You just want meat. Look at that now. Almost a quart of meat out of those 3 Dungeness crab bodies. Now let's turn that into a salad. I'm going to dump that all into a great big bowl. And now flavor it up. I've got half a sliced cucumber in there for crunch. And then for crunch of another type, a little bit of very, very finely diced celery. You don't want big chunks of celery. Now, a little bit of onion, and that's minced scallion or shallot. And now we've got to be very careful here. There's a little bit of lemon juice because that points it up. Always fresh lemon. And some pepper, freshly ground. And be very careful from now on not to add too much of anything because you can always add it later. There's a bit of salt. And now that's our tamale that has been put through a sieve. And this gives a lovely velvety quality. And now you want to toss this all up. And taste it very, very carefully for seasoning. Maybe it needs a little more salt or pepper, and when it tastes exactly right for you, time for the mayonnaise. That's 2 parts mayonnaise to 1 part sour cream, and we don't want too much on it, just enough to enrobe the crab. And when that's all beautifully enrobed and ready to go, you arrange it handsomely on your plate. There, crab salad decorated with pink grapefruit segments, avocado slices, and whole crab legs. Now, let's get to those sweetbreads. I've kept them in the fridge because sweetbreads are very, very perishable. What they are is the thymus gland or the pancreas of a young animal, and the best one are the thymus gland or the throat gland of a young calf. When the calf becomes a cow, they for some reason disappear. And you won't find sweetbreads in the ordinary supermarket. You have to order them specially from a very fancy butcher. And if you get them from a good place, they'll come wrapped in plastic, and they're all trimmed and soaked and ready to cook. And I must say they don't look very appetizing at this point because they're kind of soft and flabby. But when you cook them, they have the texture of foie gras or liver, and then a very delicate meaty taste. A little bit like chicken. They're really a supreme delicacy. And the first thing I'm going to do is to give them a preliminary cooking. Now I have here in this pot, I've got about 1/3 cup each of diced carrots, celery, onions, and 2 tablespoons of diced ham. They've been cooked in butter until very lightly brown, and that very lightly brown is important because it's going to color the sauce. So I just put in my sweetbreads here. And the first part of the preliminary cooking is called sweating. They've got to sweat for about
5 minutes on each side. There's a little salt and there's a little pepper. 5 minutes are up. Now they get turned over and sweated on the other side. There's a little more liquid in. That's just what it's supposed to do. Now we want to put in a little stock of some kind, either chicken or veal, whichever you have. I happen to have had some veal and some white wine. Enough, not quite to cover. And then you want to bring that up to the simmer. Then we want to cover it with wax paper. That will prevent the top from browning. So there's a square of wax paper, fold it in half again, then make a wedge, center it there, then just tear that and you're going to have a nice circle of wax paper. And I also have a herb bouquet. That's a little bit of thyme, a bay leaf, and some parsley. That'll give it a nice flavor. Now it's at the simmer. Put the wax paper on, cover it, and put it in a preheated 350 oven for 45 minutes. And out they come. And now they've got to sit for 20 minutes in their braising liquid to pick up that lovely flavor. Now after those have cooled off in their liquid and absorbed the flavor, put them into another bowl, and they've got to be weighted down. You notice the wax paper I used has kept them from browning, and I have another piece of wax paper. The reason for this is that they've got to cool off and firm up so that they can be sliced. More wax paper. And I'm going to weight them down, so you want a bowl or plate that will fit right in there. And then a 1 pound weight of some type, like dog food or cat food. And then they have to go into the refrigerator, and they really take about 2 hours anyway. And while that's happening, you want to make your sauce. I have some mushrooms here, and I'm going to let them simmer. These have been sauteed with some shallots and a little butter. I'm going to put in a little bit of Madeira or port wine. Let that boil up a little bit. I also have some braised onions here. And they've got some liquid, and you want to pour that into your reducing liquid, because these sweetbreads are going to be served with onions and mushrooms. Let that all boil down together. And then I'm going to also add to the mushrooms about a good cup of cream. And that's just going to make them delicious, and that'll take about 5 minutes to boil down. There, that's nicely reduced. Now I want to add this beautiful cream to our sauce base. Then I'm going to add the mushrooms to the onions. This is all that garniture that we have now. And now the sauce base has got to thicken. That isn't really thick enough for what we want. You could add loads and loads and loads of cream, and then it would be very, very fattening. So instead of that, I'm going to use a little cornstarch. That's about a tablespoon of cornstarch with a tablespoon of white wine or vermouth. And then you let that simmer for 2 minutes to cook the cornstarch. So you know that that's very lightly thickened. Now this gets strained into the onions and mushrooms. And that's going to make a very nice sauce, and really very simple ingredients. We're going to put the sweetbreads in these little puff shells. Those are just little crisp cream puff shells, and you put the sweetbreads in the bottom and put the cover on. All it is, it's like a popover batter. Water, butter, flour, and eggs. Very easy to do. Here's how. 1 cup of water and about 6 tablespoons of butter and a little bit of salt. And when that's come up to the boil and the butter is melted, it comes off the heat. In goes a whole cup of flour. And stir that around until it's perfectly blended, and then you're going to have to cook it a bit. But make sure that that's all blended in. And back over heat, sort of moderate heat. I'm going to lower that a little bit. And you cook that around until it balls up. There, now see, that's filming the bottom of the pan very lightly, and that indicates that excess moisture has been evaporated, and that's very important. Take it off the heat now and make a well in the center, and then break an egg there in, beat it in. The first egg doesn't go in very neatly. As soon as that's nicely blended again, you break in another one. You just keep on adding 4 eggs, and if you want, you can begin beating with an electric mixer. This is very critical now. Can I add all or part of a 5th egg? That seems fairly stiff. I have my 5th egg broken into beaten up in a little bowl, and I'm going to put in some driblets of that. Beat it up again. Terribly important that it be stiff enough to hold its shape, because I'm going to form it in a pastry bag. I think that's about right. Well, these are about little 3 inches across, and then you want to make a little top knot. And then you want to paint them with beaten egg. And if anything is messy, you can straighten that out with the flat of your brush. And then these get baked in a 425 oven until they've risen nicely and brown, and that will be about 15 or 20 minutes. You want to take them out and poke them, and that's to let out the steam. If you don't do that, they'll be damp inside, and they'll kind of collapse. Then lower the oven to 375 and cook them 10 minutes more. Now, here's another final, very important thing, is that you've got to open these up. This is particularly true of big puffs, and I'm doing this with a bread knife, because they feel nice and crispy, and you think, well, isn't that lovely? If you let them sit without opening them up, they're just going to turn flabby, and I'll show you why. You see, there's all that uncooked dough inside, and that's always true of these big puffs. Just take that out with a fork, and open them all up and take all of that out, and then put them back in the oven for 2-3 minutes to dry out. There's what it looks like on the plate. There's your pastry case and your sweetbreads, onions, and mushrooms in, garnished with broccoli and carrots. There's a little top knot at a jaunty angle, and let's dribble a little tiny bit of that sauce down on top to make it more luscious. Now for the dessert. Hi, Brad. Finding everything you need?
Well, I found the truffles, the Melba toast, the dog food. But Julia, where's the maple syrup?
Well, I know we got some somewhere. Let's see, these capers, seaweed. Ah, maple syrup.
Oh, that would be just fine, Julia.
Good luck.
You cannot make this recipe without using the perfect maple syrup, which is from Vermont. And this is one of our house specialties from Kansas City, from our restaurant. And this is called Sugarbush Maple Mountain Mousse. This has such wonderful flavors with the maple mousse and with the vanilla custard sauce. You enjoy it very much. We start by first separating 2 eggs. We have our yolks and our egg whites. Okay. Now we're going to be bringing our egg whites up to room temperature, so we'll want to put this into a warm location in the kitchen, such as over the stove or on top of your refrigerator. And then this will help beat our egg whites up. And then we combine our egg yolks with our dark brown sugar, our Vermont maple syrup. Oh, smell those flavors. Okay. And then we want to enrich this flavor with a little maple extract. We're going to add 1 teaspoon to it. Already smells delicious. Okay. Then we're going to blend these ingredients together. We're going to incorporate the sugars and the egg yolks and the maple extract. And then we'll place, after it's well mixed, we'll place it over on top of a double boiler, making sure the water is not touching the bottom of the bowl, as not to curdle the eggs. And we'll cook this ingredient for 7 to 10 minutes to coat the back of a spoon. Okay, it does coat the back of a spoon nicely. And we'll remove it and let it cool slightly. And then we're going to go on to our next step and add a thickener, which in this case is an unflavored gelatin combined with 1/2 cup of cold water. And we'll put it in a small skillet and let it dissolve slightly. Ensure that all the gelatin is dissolved. And we'll take this mixture and add it back to our maple syrup mixture slowly, making sure to incorporate the gelatin. Now the next step is to whip 1 cup of heavy cream in an ice-cold bowl. Perfect. Our heavy cream is nice and stiff. Now we're going to add our pure vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon. Incorporate it. See, it's incorporated. Now we'll go on to our egg whites that have been warmed. And we're going to whip these until they're very stiff. Good. Nice and stiff. Our next step is to blend it with our maple mixture. Making sure we do not overblend. Fold in carefully. Oh, smell those flavors. Perfect. Now we're going to add our whipped cream to this mapley mixture. Fold it until the cream is incorporated. Oh, it's just light and fluffy. Perfect, just well blended. And now for the taste. Perfect. And now we'll put it into our mold and refrigerate it and go on to our sauce. Here we have 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of milk, which will combine 3 tablespoons of dark rum and 1 vanilla bean that's been split in half. We'll bring this to a steamy consistency. Meanwhile, while this is cooking, we'll add our thickening agent, which is 2 teaspoons of cornstarch combined with 2 egg yolks, a pinch of salt, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract that will blend together, making sure all the ingredients are well blended. So when we add our hot cream mixture, we won't curdle the eggs. Now that our cream mixture is up to temperature, we're going to add some of this hot cream into the eggs to bring it up to the same temperature as our cream. Add it slowly, blending well. And we're going to add this into our hot cream, stirring constantly and let it cook to 3 to 5 minutes. Once it's cooked, we're ready for our final decoration. Oh, it looks so nice. That vanilla bean in it, and we're going to garnish it with the maple candy. There, Julia, for the most discriminating sweet tooth.
The man responsible for these beautiful bottles of sparkling wines is Jack Davis, who was an upstart newcomer to the Napa Valley in 1965 and is now one of the most respected winemakers in the whole country. Jack, what have you brought us?
Well, Julia, I hope we've brought you some very happy wines here today for a happy occasion. Let me explain. This is a bottle of what we call Blanc de Blanc. It's a Chardonnay-based champagne-style wine of the vintage 1980. This is a Blanc de Noirs. We're going to have this with our crab later today. It's a 1978 vintage. It's a blend of a white wine of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And we have here the Cuvée de Pinot. It's a Brut Rosé made of Pinot Noir. And finally, we have our Crémant demi-sec made from that interesting grape called the Flora, developed at the University of California.
Well, this is wonderful that we can have a whole dinner with champagne and each one very different.
Of course we're going to do that.
Now, what's the difference between champagne and sparkling wine? They're both sparkling.
That's right, and it's kind of a tricky word thing, but let's put the general word is sparkling wine. That's the family, and champagne is a sparkling wine, but all sparkling wines are not champagne. The best way I can simplify it is to say that we're thinking, when we say of champagne, really of the traditional method of a way of bringing those bubbles into the wine by a fermentation in the bottle itself rather than in some larger container.
Now, maybe we ought to taste one just to see.
Would you like to do that?
If it's any good.
What about the Blanc Noir? Should we try that?
Yes, I think
this is the one that
and also, I think a lot of us are not sure of the best way to open the bottle. Yeah.
Well, first of all, we have to get this foil off the top here. The foil capsule usually has a little perforated edge around the side there. We get that off. Then we have to remove the wire. A couple of twists will usually do it, so we can just lift that right off the top. You see nothing to it, I say, as I struggle with it manfully. And then the main key, though, is to get ourselves a nice towel or napkin so that we don't have a flying cork. We don't want flying corks. We get a hold of that cork firmly, grasp it, and then turn the bottle.
Oh, now that's, you're not trying to turn the, you're holding the cork.
Holding the cork, And then we get that nice little pop.
Yes, that's wonderful.
And there we've got our bottle of champagne. Would you like
that
to
lovely. Well,
have
yes,
a little taste, Joe?
I would indeed, yes.
All right, and then this nice flute glass we've got. That's my favorite thing because it...
Is it incorrect to serve one in one of those kind of round
sherbet bowls?
Yes.
I like the flute because it focuses the aroma, you see, of the wine coming in, like a little chimney coming up at the top.
Well, I suppose it has something to do with the bubbles going
And it
down.
also, yes, it enhances the bubbles, and then it preserves the bubbles. You have that big open thing where the bubbles get out much faster. This way we can approach the glass, we get that nice bouquet of the wine.
It is,
right?
it is,
See, it works. And so the flute, to me, also I think it's more graceful. It's a more attractive glass.
That's awfully good champagne. Oh, I'm looking forward to tasting all of them. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you, Julia.
Dinner is served. That's it. Wasn't that a wonderful evening, the wine and the food and all the people? Come back next time for more. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.